Listen, this is a Vedanta class. This is about thinking differently. If you want to bring your opinions in here and hang on to them, well, it's up to you, but you might as well go somewhere else. Because Vedanta is about thinking differently, learning to think from a dualistic platform, in which case you can't argue. There's no argument involved in Vedanta. We don't argue. I just argue provocatively to make you think. But I'm not arguing with you. There's no argument. In fact, nobody argues that they're beautiful. If I tell you you're beautiful, do you argue? I say, you are so beautiful, you're so perfect. I love you totally. No, I'm not. No, sir. No, there's scientists that tell me I'm ugly. So the scientist said I'm ugly, I believe I'm ugly. What? No. We're telling you you're beautiful. We're telling you you're perfect. We're telling you you're unborn and that you're fine. And that you're always fine, even when you think you're not fine, you're fine. That's our message. Now, when you understand that, then there's no argument. Because that's something everybody loves to hear and wants to hear. Why? Because they've been told the opposite. Somehow they have a doubt about whether they're beautiful or not. There's just a doubt. We just want you to remove your doubt, that's all. And then we give you all the reasons. This is just nothing but a whole lot of simple reasons, logical reasons, knowledge that you can use to what? To remove your doubts. The second phase of Vedanta teaching, Vedanta worship is what? Here it is, right here. Reasoning, removing doubts. That's where you remove your doubts at this stage. That's the second to the last stage. You remove your doubts, and then what happens? You've actualized the teaching. That's the last stage of formal worship. And when you've actualized the teaching, what? You have non-dual bhakti. There's nothing to actualize. There's nothing to realize. There's no doubts left in your mind. You could just say, I am. And you know that I am means that I'm beautiful and I'm perfect and I'm satisfied with myself and the world as it is. And that every single teaching, I've said this dozens of times, every single teaching proves that one truth. So we don't want to stop at some point and argue about it. Because eventually you have to move beyond the duality, the fear. You just have to. Because this is not a fearful place. This is not a threatening reality. This is a benevolent, but not, you are my mom and my pop. What is that saying? Twameva mata, chapita twameva. You're my mother and my father. That means you love me. You means Ishvara, means God. That's an acknowledgement of mother love, of father love. That's an acknowledgement that you're loved by what? By God. You wouldn't be here if you weren't loved by God. Because God is love, and everything that God does is love and is lovable. Everything. God can't do anything that isn't love because God's nature is love. And some people realize that, and some people don't. Most people don't, because they're afraid, they're fearful of what? Whatever it is. You fill in the blank. I don't know. Only you know what you're afraid of. And some people think that, and this is just common in the world, they think fear is smart. They think they're being very clever because they're very suspicious and they don't trust anybody or anything. And those people are the biggest fools, that they think everybody is out to get them, and it's all a big conspiracy. They're out to get me. Nobody's out to get you. If there's any conspiracy, it's ignorance. There's no person that's doing it. No group of people are doing it to you. Ignorance conspires to make you what? Fearful. And when your ignorance is gone, your fear goes. You can't have fear and love together. It's not possible. You're either a loving entity or a fearful entity. That's it. Because there's only one entity. There's no options here. That's our point. There's no options. And how people hang on to their fears. And we know that, so we just don't fight with them. There's just no argument. It's okay. You want to be fearful? It's up to you. And you will enjoy the fruits of that belief. And it's never satisfactory. The fruits of fear are never satisfactory. They're always unsatisfactory. It keeps you small and contracted, because when you're fearful, what do? You contract, you get tight, you get like a ball, and you're always looking around because you get armored. Remember the Star Wars guy? What was his name? Darth Vader, huh? And he had this great big black thing, and the way he breathed. This great scary sound, and this huge black thing, and these dead eyes, And when Luke Skywalker took off the mask, what did you see inside? What did you see inside? This fearful little white critter, like a little worm inside, totally terrified. And all that was like a compensation for the fear, was like trying to protect himself. Skywalker and the lightsaber means what? The lightsaber means knowledge. And the Skywalker means what? An inquirer, a person who knows the truth. The guy who wrote that, R.C. Clarke, lived in in Sri Lanka, and he was a Vedic person. He understood the Vedas. He read the Vedas. That's why he got, and he just put the terminology into what? Into a different language. It was just Vedanta in code. And this war between the dark forces and the light forces, it's the same war. It's an eternal war. And it's all in you. There's nobody else involved in this. This is all in you. It's not an external war. If you think there's people out there doing it, then you're wrong. There's no people out there doing it. It looks like there are people doing it. But there's nobody out there doing it. You're doing it to yourself. All that stuff is coming from you. It's not coming from anybody else. Okay. What's love got to do with it? Love's got everything to do with it. The self is love, anandam. Ananda means it doesn't begin and it doesn't end. It's eternal. And that eternal nature of awareness of yourself is bliss. And it's because it's just being is blissful. That's why you love life. Because it's the only opportunity to experience bliss is when you have a reflection. There's light here, but you can't see it. But when I put my hand have a reflection, and now what? Now the light becomes manifest. So, without a body, you're not going to get the experience of bliss. But with the body, you have a reflector that produces experiential bliss. You can gain experiential bliss when you go to sleep. You're experiencing experiential bliss when you go to sleep. But as soon as you wake up, your mind goes out again, outward, and bliss gradually fades away merges into the activities of the day, and the mind becomes agitated again, and off you go doing your business looking for bliss. You just had 8 hours of bliss, your mind gets disturbed, and then you look for bliss in objects. So, you could argue that if the experience of bliss was enlightenment, then who isn't enlightened? Everybody's enlightened because everybody has gone to sleep. But that kind of bliss doesn't work. It only works if you know that bliss is your nature, and that's what Vedanta teaches. So we're discussing that we said that love is the motivation behind everything. You only do what you do because you love doing it. Now you could say, well, I don't like my job, I don't love my job. Yeah, but you do love your job, that's why you do it. And what's the motivation there? You love security, financial security, or whatever it is, more than you love the opposite, which is what? Poverty, or whatever the issue is. Even if somebody puts a gun to your head and says, do this or do that, you'll do what he or she says, or not, out of love for yourself, because you love yourself more than anything. The action you won't like the action, but you'll do the action, what? So you can continue to love, to be, to exist. So when the Beatles sang the song "Love Is All There Is," they were right. They'd been with Maharishi for a while, and they picked up that idea back in the 60s. Love is all there is. So consciousness is love, and what? And existence is love. So whatever we're doing now, we said, now devotion's a different story, because everybody has love, but not everybody has bhakti or devotion. And we defined devotion as what? Love of something higher than objects, something other than objects, love of God, or love of freedom. And so, and we said that, it's very difficult to practice karma yoga, because the decision-making process is out of your hands. In other words, about what you do is out of your hands. When you do it is up to you, but what you do is not up to you. You have a new dharma. When you become a karma yogi, your old dharma doesn't apply anymore. You get a new swadharma. That's why Krishna in the Gita says, he says, I've taught you the wisdom of Sankhya, meaning I've taught you who you are. And he doesn't say, and you didn't understand what I was talking about. He doesn't say that part because he doesn't want to make Arjuna feel stupid. But he says, now I'm going to teach you the karma yoga. And then he says, and he tells what the benefit is. and he says, a little bit of karma yoga, tiny little bit, removes great fear. So karma yoga is what? Meant to what? Remove your fears. And if you say you're practicing karma yoga and you think you're on the path of Vedanta, but your fears haven't started to loosen up and disappear, and if you're still afraid of the same things after a year or two or a few months, then you're not doing karma yoga. That's just a fact. Just not doing karma yoga, because this cognitive shift in your understanding allows you to insists that you consecrate the anxiety to Ishvara. In other words, you say, I'm not going to worry about the result of this. I'm going to do my best. Karma yoga is doing your best at whatever level you're at. It's according to your talents and abilities, you do your very best. As long as you do your best, that's all you can do. And then the rest of it, what do? You leave it up to Ishvara. So then you act You act appropriately and skillfully, because your mind's not disturbed, because you're not carrying that anxiety. And if that's a daily practice, then what? The anxiety is just fear. Now, anxiety becomes like a normal state. People normalize anxiety, and they think, they make the abnormal normal. And they think worry's normal. Worry is not normal. Anxiety is not normal. Understand? So karma yoga removes your fear. Great. He says a little bit of karma yoga removes a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of worry stops. And the more you practice it, the more you realize that hard core of fear, that brittle, hard core of fear, starts to break up like ice in the springtime. When the sun comes in the spring and heats the ice in the North Pole, the ice starts to break up and float away and dissolve into the ocean. And in the same way, when you do karma yoga, that hard, frozen part of yourself, that difficult part of yourself, right? It starts to soften up and break up and dissolve into what? Into the ocean of what? Bliss. The milky ocean of bliss. So karma yoga is the number one solution. Number two solution we're going to talk about in a minute. That's jnana yoga, because that's more direct and faster and easier, but it doesn't work unless you have karma yoga backing it up. So you can't skip the karma yoga bit.